So my application for venture funding was denied yesterday, and my initial reaction was shame. Shame that, the reasoning they gave me was my financials, so shame that my business isn't making enough, it's not making as much as it should. And also, secondly, shame that I've told people on Facebook and other places that I'm applying for venture funding, and now everyone's gonna know that I'm a loser and I didn't get it. And, I was confident, and I actually worked really hard on the application, and it took a while. And so I put all this hard work in, and it was all for nothing, and fuck me in the face. I hate this. So I wanted to talk about perfectionism and shame and how that perfectionism is driven by shame, okay? I know on job interviews they say, what's your worst quality? And you say, oh, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And that's supposed to be a good thing, but I want to tell you why it's not, and why anything that you're doing that's driven by shame is not going to serve you well in the long run. So, why is perfectionism driven by shame? If you just want to do a good job, I am ambitious and hardworking, and I want to do a good job. That, I think, is very healthy. But in high school, I was a perfectionist, and I always got straight A's. I got 100% straight A's in high school. I never got a B, at least on my final grade. I think I would get it on a test here and there, but by my final grade, I would get straight A's. And what this meant was that I got really good at learning what one particular teacher wants from me and doing everything in my control to get it. So the thing about getting straight A's is that there are some classes like math where it really is like, do you understand the problem or not? But there are many classes like English, or even some like science projects when you do those poster board projects or whatever, where depending on your teacher, depending on what kind of essay your teacher prefers, you're going to get an A sometimes and a C sometimes. So to get straight A's, you have to get really good at learning what kind of essay does this particular English teacher want. So in grade 10, it might be different than grade 11, what the teacher wants. And I got very good at that. I got very good at getting to know the teacher and getting to know what they celebrated and what they cheered on, and writing the English essay that this teacher wanted to hear and that this teacher would give me an A on. The problem with that is that I was not writing the essay I wanted to write. I was not arguing for the argument I felt most strongly about. I was figuring out what the teacher wanted and giving it to them. Now, this has led to a lot of success for me, because that led me to a place where I was able to figure out what my bosses wanted when I first entered the workforce and giving them what they want. But again, actually for the long-term health of the nonprofit organization I was working for at the time, you were not getting my best ideas. You were getting the ideas that I knew my boss would like, which maybe sometimes were my best ideas, but other times I would suppress my best ideas because I knew maybe the boss wouldn't love it, even though it might have pushed the nonprofit forward. We could have helped even more youth. I worked for an organization that taught youth about the justice system. And even though I could have helped people on a deeper level, I would suppress my best ideas if they didn't align exactly with what I knew my boss would like. The other big, huge issue with perfectionism is that it is always, 100% of the time, driven by shame. Because when you are a perfectionist, your self-worth comes from your achievements. So for me, when I was in high school, I had low self-worth, but then when I got an A, my self-worth would go up temporarily. I would get an A on a test, my self-worth would go up. I would get an A in physics, my self-worth would go up. The problem is if I got a B, or God forbid, a B- on a test, my self-worth would drop because I didn't believe I had intrinsic self-worth. I didn't say I love myself and I have my own back even if I fail. I did not have my own back at that time. And so I felt shame. I felt this low self-worth, and I was trying to cover up the low self-worth with straight A's. So, long story short, what that led to for me at the nonprofit organization that I work for is that eventually shame got the best of me and I burnt out because being a perfectionist, being driven by shame, and my only self-esteem being my boss saying good job or the project partner saying good job is not sustainable. Shame, the research shows that shame is correlated with alcoholism, with depression, with rates of unaliving yourself, all of these issues. And guilt, which is different from shame, is actually negatively correlated. So guilt is when you say, oh, I made a mistake. Whoopsie daisy. I don't want to do that again. Maybe it was a grave mistake. Maybe I want to apologize. Maybe I want to make amends. Maybe I want to repair the situation in some way. But I don't say, I'm a mistake. I say, I made a mistake. Shoot. Or, oh, wow, that was a big mistake. I really regret that. But my self-worth is, I'm a good person. I love myself. I have my own back. Even when I make a grave mistake. Where shame is, you make a mistake and you go, there's something wrong with me. I'm a loser. I'm fucked up. And that is what leads to things like alcoholism, depression, etc. So, when you're in a perfectionist, you're being driven by the shame because you want to be perfect because otherwise you feel like you are a mistake. Whereas when you're driven by guilt, you're willing to fail. You're willing to fall on your face because you're not going to make that mean anything about your intrinsic worth. So the reason that perfectionism will break your business in the long run is that shame, being anything driven by shame is not sustainable, or it's not pretty, man. You know, we all know some people like Elon Musk that are driven by shame, in my opinion. I don't know him personally, but, you know, just based on his actions. And it has led him to material success in some ways, but, you know, he's still trying to fit in and be cool and be popular. You can tell he doesn't feel content and satisfied and worthy. So he keeps going for more. So in my case, this perfectionism driven by shame led to me burning out. And that could happen to you in your business, or you could end up building a business that you don't really want to build because you're just focused on the numbers and you aren't focused on your well-being, your employees' well-being, and the values that matter to you. So perfect is not a good thing. I'm trying to take that word out of my vocabulary, and so that I can fall on my face like I did yesterday. My venture application was denied again. And, I'm falling on my face publicly in front of all of you, in front of my community, and to say, whoops, guess that wasn't the one. I'm still a good person. I'm still a good entrepreneur. I think with things like venture applications, it's good to have like a 1 in 10 ratio. Like if I apply for 10 venture applications, I should get 1. Not to expect to get every single one, because that's not realistic. So perfectionism is not good. Don't hire people who say they're perfectionists, because that means what you're outing yourself as saying, I'm driven by shame. And if you want to start to heal your shame, heal some of your money blocks, I have an incredible free workshop. It's called Somatics to Heal Money Blocks, that will take you through a step-by-step process that's actually going to help you process the shame in your body. Because here's the thing. Yesterday when my application got denied, I felt shame. It's not like I'm immune to shame. We never get to be completely immune to shame, but I don't want all my decisions to be driven by shame. So I'm going to process that shame in my body first, and then I'm going to make decisions after the shame has been processed, so I'm not being driven by it. So this free workshop will be linked in the description in my bio, and you can check it out, learn how to process shame, anxiety, all of the emotions that are holding you back from your financial goals. You even get a worksheet that tells you how to do it exactly. So head there, pick that up, and if you're a recovering perfectionist like me, raise your hand. We're in this together. We can do this, because you are meant to help a bunch of people, touch a bunch of lives, touch a bunch of hearts, and perfectionism stops you from bringing forward your best ideas. So let's recover, let's process our shame so we can bring our best to the world. Okay, talk to you next time.